Okay, Social Wi-Fi has a new email editing tool, which we are going to show you how to use quickly and simply in this short video. And on the right of the screen, you will see that we have an example email that we've put together. And on the left side of the screen, we have the Social Wi-Fi dashboard where we will create this email campaign. So I'm going to make the email smaller on the right-hand side so we can see what we're aiming for throughout this video. And it's made into a bit more of a mobile view as well. But we have a nice email here. We've got some artwork, we've got some text, we've got some buttons with call to action, we've got a footer with some social links. So there's a bit of work for us to do here, and I will hopefully show you how quick and easy that is to do with the new improvements that we've made. So this editor works in both email automations and the bulk campaigns, but I will do this in a bulk campaign to get us going. And I'm going to add a new mailing. And I'm going to do this from scratch in advanced mode. We have some templated layouts, but I'm going to go with a blank canvas and start from the very beginning. And don't forget to give your email a subject and then hit create. And we come through to the new editing tool, which looks similar to what we had before. We have a central section in the middle for the content. We have our widgets on the right-hand side where we will edit things. And to help us with space, I'm going to hide the left navigation bar just to give us a bit more space on what we're viewing here. It's pulled through some default styles from the venue settings. So we have this background color, which I'm going to just change to something a bit more neutral rather than the color we had before. And it's already got us an unsubscribe link in here as well. But I'm going to delete that and I'll re-add it again later. And you'll see how I go about doing that. The key principle to follow here is, once again, as with the old editor, you are going to take elements from the right-hand side of the page and drop them into the content column here. And when you select the elements that you've dropped in, you'll get new options on the right-hand side of how you can edit that element. Now, a really important principle to understand as well is that you need to drop in columns before adding in the content widgets. So if I try and add in an image widget with no column, nothing is going to happen here. So if I take the top of the email that we have on the right-hand side here with the logo and the green background, I want to take a single column, drop that in, and it's automatically added in a text content column. But I want to add in an image instead. If I take that widget, and you can see where the green section is wanting me to drop this, and I can select something from our repository of content, or I can upload something fresh from my files, and there we have it. It's dropped that in. And if I want to delete anything, I can select that section of content. I get these options just above it, and I'll select the bin in this case, and it's gone. Now this logo is a bit wide, so let's go to the dimensions section on the right-hand side and adjust the width here to a certain amount of pixels. If I click on these arrow buttons and drag up and down, I can do some resizing. So I'm just going to eyeball this. If you have some more precise requirements, you can type in a number here. But a key difference that we have now is on the email I've created on the right-hand side, we have the green background. And on this, we have no background. We're just going straight through to the underlying neutral color that I selected earlier. So I can change that green by clicking in the section element. And on the right-hand side, checking through the options that I've been given here. And one of them is background color. And I can use the color picker that we have. Or if I have a color code that I want to add in specifically, I can paste that in. And we've updated the color there quite nicely. And one other thing that I've noticed here is that the gap between the bottom of the logo and the green is perhaps a little bit too big for my liking. So on the right-hand side, we do have this padding section, and we can adjust that if we would like, simply by adjusting the numbers, and you can adjust them in all directions to your preference. So when you're playing with the editor, it's good just to have a click around the different elements that you have and see what options you are giving. So for example, here, I've just clicked the logo of the restaurant and I found the link option here. So if I want to turn that logo into a link that goes to their website, I can paste in the website URL here, and anyone that clicks that image on the email is going to open up the company website. Okay, so let's keep going. And I'm just going to keep following the same principle as before, and I'll try and speed things up a bit now until we get to some different elements. The section beneath, again, is an image. So I'm going to select a content column. I'm going to select one again. And I am going to then select image again. And I'm going to upload the piece of artwork that my designer has given me to drop in here. I'll delete this text section. And as I was mentioning before, we have quite a bit of padding here between the image and the green section above. So I'm going to remove as much padding as I can here. So if I click on the image here, I've got padding in all directions. So I'm just going to change these one by one. So that was the image, that padding that I did. Now, if I go outside of that image, I get this section area. I also have padding here on the top and the bottom. And in removing that, I've now brought things in much more like on the email that we have on the right-hand side. Okay, we're looking good, I think. Let's move on. We now have some text that we need to drop in here. And again, this is all in a one column section. So let's drop in one column. We have a text box here already added. So let's just start editing with this. And we have very basic text here now. But again, if I click on this, I do have a lot of typography options here on the right-hand side. Let's center align this. Let's adjust the color. And we also need to make it a lot bigger. So again, I'm clicking and dragging to make that bigger. And it doesn't seem very bold to me. It looks like we have much bolder on the right-hand side here. So I can select all of this text and I get numerous options above it to style that text a bit more. I can select bold, and now we're looking much more alike the email that has been designed. Now we have that white background, which we haven't got on the email that we're creating. So if I select that section once again, and I go to background color, I can just adjust that to white. And now we're looking a lot better. And I'm just going to keep adding text now within the same section this time. So I can go back to my elements. I can click and drag text, and I can just drop that element again beneath the last text element. And I am going to copy and paste in the content from the email we have on the right. And now I'm going to have to style it up once again. So we need to center align this. We need to edit the color, the font color. And I'm putting in the green hex code here, but you can select anything you want from the color picker. And I'm going to make the font size a bit bigger. And I think we should add in some line height to give a bit more spacing between each line of words. And I'm not going to be too precise with this. I just want you to get the idea of how this works. And we need to add in this bold section beneath it. So once again, I'm going to take a text element, drag and drop in there at the bottom, and let's add in that text there. Because I've pasted it in, it's got the bold already. But again, as I said, you can select everything and do your styling in line here. Let's center align that, make the font green again. Increase the size. And I think we're looking nice here. Okay, so moving down a bit further. So now we need to add in this button element here. And I'm going to have to start a new content section with this. So I need to drag and drop in my column that I want to use. There we go. And I have my button in here. If I go back to my elements by clicking the plus icon, I have a button element here, and I can drop that where I would like. In this case, I'm going to delete the text section because I don't need that for this section here. And now if I click on the button, I get my options of how to edit this button on the right-hand side. So first things first, the background color is completely wrong for the email that we're wanting to style. Let's change that. And we have this rounding on the edges of the button as well, and that's known as border radius. You can adjust these one by one, or you can select the option at the top, and the higher the number, the more curvature that there's going to be on the button. So I'm just going to go for something quite large here, 120, and that looks like it's matching relatively closely. Again, have a play around with all the options that you have on these elements, but you're mostly going to be playing with the color and the radius, I would imagine. If I want to change the text within the button, I just have to double click on the text here, and it gives me the text editor. And there we go. I've been able to change that. And if I click on the button, I get the option to edit what link that button directs to. So you can paste in the URL to the destination. In this case, it will be a table booking system. And I finally want to make the background of this white again. So if I select this section, so outside of the button element here, if I go to the left or the right, I get the section element. I need to find the background color. Here we go. Change that to white. And now we're looking good and consistent. Okay, moving down, we have two images here now and text beneath it. So instead of doing a single column, I'm going to drop in two. And I'm just going to drop that into the bottom of the page here. And it's putting two text elements this time, which I'll probably keep here for the food menu and the drinking bar section. But what I will do first of all is I'm going to drop in the image elements here, and I'm going to upload the images that our designer has given us. There's the first one, and I'll repeat the process for the second one. And as you can see, I'll do this second one nice and quickly. And as you get the hang of this, you'll just start flying through things quite quickly. I will do these pieces of text as well whilst I'm at it. And I need to center those pieces of text. As you can see, I'm just selecting the elements and adjusting my options on the right-hand side. Let's change this background section to be green, like on the email that we have here. So if I select the section, background color, update that, we have the right green in here. But we also need to add in the links to these pieces of text as well. So if I take a URL, I'll just direct it to Social Wi-Fi's website. I select the text. We have an icon here on the right-hand side, which is subtle, but it represents adding a link. If you select that, it turns that text section into a link. And on your right-hand side, if you click that link, down to the bottom, you have a place where you can drop in a URL. So if I add in socialwifi.com there, I have now updated that food menu link to direct to Social Wi-Fi's website. So I'll show you this again. If I go to the drinking bar one, I can select all of it. I can turn that into a link by clicking the button on the right-hand side. And when I click off that and back onto it, I have the option here on the right to add in a link. So that's that task done. But we do have some underlining here on these links as well. So again, if I select that text, I get my text styling options. I'm going to go underline on each of them. We've done that nice and easily. Now, we don't have it in the case of these images, but if I wanted to add a link to either or both of these images, I can do so in a very similar way. Select the image, and that the option that I have on the right is for a link as well. So I could very easily drop in redirections there as well. And these images very subtly have some border radius. So if I select either of the images, find the border radius options. Again, I can do them one by one, or I can update them all at the same time. I'll put 15 on these ones and keep it nice and subtle. But we then have a nice way to make those images a little bit more stylish in this case. Okay, I think we're done on this section. Looks like we need to wrap this up by putting in a bit of a footer, some social links, and an unsubscribe. So let's put the social links into a single column. So we'll drop that into the bottom of the page here. In our text content here. Now, this is a really important process order. You first of all need to drop in a group social. And then if you want to add in more social links, you can do so by adding a social element. So you must add the group first and then continue adding the social elements. And likewise, you can delete any of them as appropriate. And if you click on any of the social icons, you're going to get options for each individual icon. I'm going to change the background color again to match the branding. Here I have Facebook twice, which I really don't want. So if I keep scrolling down to the bottom, I get a list of social platforms that we can add links to. So I'll change one of these to YouTube. And again, I will change that background color to the green. And these are a little bit bunched up. So what I could do is add some padding on either side of these. So if I select any of these elements, towards the top, I have the dimensions options and I can add padding in all directions. But in this case, I'm going to do it on the left and the right, I think. And I'll do that on the YouTube one as well. Until they're just symmetrical, I'm not going to make this look identical to the previous one on the example here. But just to give you an idea that you can use the padding to space out any of your elements a little bit more. So we've got a few social elements in here. You'll want to set links to the relevant pages that you have on each of these. So select any of the icons and add in the link to your Facebook page, your YouTube account, your Instagram page. Yeah, select those one by one and update the link there so that people can go straight to that. Finally, we need to put in the name of the business. Essentially, we need to do the footer, name and address, and we have an unsubscribe here. So I'm going to quickly do the text things again, which we've already seen me do a couple of times. So I'm going to do these quite quickly. I'm not going to explain what I'm doing once again. As I said, I encourage people to select elements and see what options you have with them and just experiment. I don't quite like the gap here between these two words, so I'm just going to play around with the top and the bottom padding. It's a really neat way to adjust your heights and things like that. I don't need this content section here, but what I do need is an unsubscribe link, and I have this at the very top of the page, and I will just drop that. So it's not letting me drop it at the bottom of the page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it where it does allow me, and then I'm going to move up the address there. So I can use this arrow icon. We've got the 4 arrows, the compass icon. I can use that to drag elements around, which can be a real time saver. And I have my unsubscribe link in here. We need to make some adjustments to that. So I click it and I get my options. I can now center my unsubscribe link. I can change the font color to that green, and looks like I need to underline it as well. And I think we're looking pretty good. And one final tip as well. Let's imagine you've created a section like this here, and you've got all of your content and the elements that you want to use. You could duplicate all of that. Let's say you've got 4 images that you want to use. We have this button here, which is a copy button. If I click that, it's just going to copy all of that content from the section that I've selected, which could save you a lot of time. Now we might just have to double click on the images and swap them out for something different and change the text, but it saves you having to build everything up from scratch once again. So I've taken a bit of time here to get things done looking correctly and to be as descriptive as I can to help you make emails looking really good and really stylish. But hopefully I've demonstrated that the new editor is a lot easier to use and a lot more powerful. You can create some really impressive designs with the new email editor from Social Wi-Fi. So use it, have fun, experiment. And if you have any problems, don't forget to check out our academy.